the year 1999, my family had been persecuted by the Chinese Communist Party. My mom, she has been arrested illegally for at least 6 times. And especially in the year 1999, as my mom said, the police came to my home and they arrested her. At that time, it was a winter. The temperature is below 0 degrees. She was wearing just as thin as she's wearing now, without a coat. Then the police, they just brought her to there is a court. It's a very big room, so it's very cold in that room. So she was detained there for at least 2 weeks without wearing warm clothes, also without the shoes. So she was extremely cold there. So it's a very big room, and the windows are all broken. It's like a big meeting room. She's wearing just like this. So every night it's just like 1 year. It was very long for her to suffer. The family members were not allowed to send her clothes. It's around 15 days. Then she was released.
Why did you get arrested? What's the reason?
Just because she practiced Falun Gong. They use this way to force you to give up your belief. If you don't, then they use this way to torture you to give up. Then it was the year 2000, and the year 2001. Then the police again came to my home and arrested my mom. It was around another 2 weeks in the cold room. Then they transferred my mom to the detention center. My mom thought she has done nothing wrong. So several people together, they went on hunger strike. Hunger strike. They refused to eat. Yeah. To protest the persecution, the illegal persecution. Then 6 or 7 police came. The first feeding.
What is force?
Around 6 people, 2 people drag her hairs. Yeah. Other 2 people, they just catch her. Then other 2 people just press her legs. Yeah. Then they force feeding. It's the tube is like as thick as a chopstick, plastic tube from her nose. From the nose to the stomach.
Was that food?
It's not food, ma'am. It's salty water. Yeah. It was extremely painful for her.
换完了以后，他不是说轻轻的像对着病号一样给你轻轻的拔出来，他这么往外一拽，就是。
So after the first feeding, it's not like a gently take out; it's just forcefully take, and then blood pour out. So yeah.
是这样。然后呢，又得换10天，才跑过来把我们铐在铁窗上。
And also the policeman, fastened her body on the window of the detention center. Yeah, on the window. We use handcuffs, handcuffs.
换10天以后，身体非常虚弱嘛。
She was very weak. 6 pharmaceutical practitioners were detained in the same room. The handkerchief was there. It's like this. So the window is here, and then they fix her body to the window with a handcuff.
Just like the film.
Yeah, just like the film, and only with her, the toe tips on the ground. It's very painful, and my mom just passed out and lost her conscience. Then these people let her down. After 2 hours, she lost her conscience. Yeah. So she lost around 25 kilo during the hunger strike. I heard 26 days she eat nothing. So. After 1 month in the local police station, the police station took her from the detention center again to the police station, and then continue the detention there. Yeah.
Okay, so that was for her belief of.
Yes, it's a part of the story.
Yeah. Okay. And George, please tell your story, what you have seen
Okay.
for a long time.
What she was saying exactly, I know what she has gone through because it's very normal procedure. They did the same thing with me also. It's sitting in the court. There's a chair with a belt around the waist. So exactly without any clothes. I mean one shirt. Yeah. Okay. Okay. One shirt and trousers I had. So it was month of October, and it was very cold. Exactly one room. It's outside of the building. So I had to sit on that chair, and it was closed. It was impossible to move. So they were taking me purposely before they bring the breakfast, so-called breakfast, we can say. And they were taking me back nearly 6 or 7 after they had served the dinner. So they were doing purposely so I could not eat anything, and I was in the cold. So after a few hours, one is losing, his conscious. One doesn't know what is happening. So I knew that they were putting me in the cell. So it was nighttime, everybody had eaten the dinner. Hanging from the window, that is very normal thing what they are doing. So they will do it 24 hours or for 2 days, 3 days. There are some common tortures which they are using. And why they took her back to the police station and they brought her, I know it very well also. Because in the year 2004 from United Nations, there was a complaint to the Chinese authorities that many people that have been detained without any charges. So they started checking the detention centers. They found nearly, if I'm not mistaken, nearly 10,700 or 800 people who had been sitting in the detention center without any charges, and the highest was one person, 25 years. He was in detention center without any charges. So why they took her to the police station? So there was new regulation in year 2004 that if somebody is being held in the detention center in 33 or 37 days, they have to make charges. So why they had taken her to the police station? So it will not come over that 33 or 37 days.
It's a role.
Yeah, so what she explained, you can tell your mother also. What she explained exactly, I know what she had gone through.
Thank you, George. But tell us a bit about you. I mean, I know you speak perfect Swedish and you're from Sweden.
You have to excuse me because I will speak English,
yeah.
So he can translate also for his mother. I was arrested in year 2003. So I was doing business in China. And to do business in China, one had to have contacts. And the contacts, it had to be from the party. So I was having a very good contact in the party. He was a very old friend who advised me that if I come to China, so we can do business, because those days China, it was, we can say, closed. Nobody was doing, and the Chinese, they didn't know how they have to do business or something, and he was a friend of mine for a long time. So I decided to go to China in 1997, and I was staying there. Of course, sometimes I was coming back to Sweden to meet my family. So we started doing business from there. Mostly it was export. And it was in year 2003. So there was a change in the government. So the people whom I knew, they belonged to the Xianjiang's, we can say, elite. So
Jiang the last president has passed away, and the new president was...
So when it was, yeah, so it had come new president. You know, it's not like Sweden, for example, prime minister and some ministers come to the government, but the whole personnel is the same. In China, when somebody comes to the power, they have to take out everybody in the, so they have to put their own people. It becomes a conflict, although both of them they are from the Communist Party. But if we look to the Communist Party history from Mao Zedong up to today, so they kill each other, or they go against each other, although they are from the same party. So I got warning nearly 2 or 3 days before my arrest. So they told me I have to leave China. They said it's better you leave China. So I was not so sure that I had nothing to do with them. Okay, I know some persons. So I didn't take it very seriously. So it was 9th of October. So I got a phone call that I have to meet a friend in our apartment. When I went there, though, I was arrested. Nearly 7 months when I was in detention center. In fact, I was not supposed to be arrested with the contacts which I had. So 7 months in the detention center, they didn't know what they had to do with me. So still the government was not so stable. So I was having my contacts, they were trying to release me, and I'm having the opposite one who are trying to hold me. So in the beginning, they told me that it's resisting arrest. So it's resisting arrest. I was charged under resisting arrest. Then they wrote for me, they changed the case that it was money laundering, and then they changed the case that it was fake currency. So I was taken to the court after nearly 2 years, and in the 2 years they tried many ways, because I was having a lot of information which was not proper for me to have. So after 2 years I was taken to the court. So the court also, it was just a circus. So they told me that my charges are fake currency. And so I asked the judge, okay, how you can say it's fake currency? Yeah, we have find this writer in your possession with a computer. So I placed one question. I said, what is the color of dollar? They told me it's green. I said, okay, the writer which I have. Yeah, you have printed by that. I said, okay, what is the writer? It's black and white. So how is it possible? So I knew exactly, they knew what is happening, because in the courtroom, we had the Swedish embassy, some personnel from Swedish embassy, and there were a lot of people behind sitting, which I knew they were government officials. So they were there. So it was, we can say, unwritten rules. Neither I have to speak something, I have to give information. So we had to find a way how it had to be. I mean, nobody was knowing how they have to handle the case. So the case, it had become very serious. So anyway, the only thing the Chinese government told is to give me life sentence.
Life sentence?
Yeah, I got life sentence. So, in that time, it was in the year 2006, they transferred me to the prison in the Beijing number 2 prison. And the detention center which I was, it was known as the Monster Detention Center. It was, I mean, one of the most dangerous places one could be. Nobody was coming out of that place alive, we can say. Any Chinese going to that detention center, either death sentence, life sentence, or 2 years suspension of death sentence and the life sentence. That was the minimum somebody could get.
So
if somebody was going...
criminals, so-called criminals.
Yeah.
But did you meet those Falun Gong?
You know, Falun Gong, I met few members, but I told them not to practice because I knew what will happen to them. Year 2004, they started dividing Falun Gong members from foreigners because we were the only people who could have little contact with outside world, with the embassies. So they were very scared that we will pass information to the embassy. So they decided to remove Falun Gong members from foreign section. Foreign section, it was just one corridor with 10 rooms. So it was in the year 2006, I was transferred to the prison, and there was some negotiation between Chinese government and my contacts. So embassy, I can say Swedish embassy was helpful to take the credit. So in the end they decided 2010, after a lot of negotiation. Of course, in the beginning my own contact wanted $2 million from my family to release me.
What?
$2 million, yeah. And
your old friend,
my
your
own contact, who is not the third most powerful person in China, it is Wang Qishan. So he is the chief of the this communist.
You mean Wang Qishan?
Huh?
You mean Wang Qishan?
So they made a meeting in Thailand. Swedish envoy from his side, he had traveled to Thailand, and it was my wife and cousin who traveled there to Thailand, and they talked to each other how they have to release me. So the main person was Wang Qishan. So in that time I was in the prison when my wife contacted me, and she told me that in the beginning he wanted $500,000 to release me. Then later on he changed to $2 million, which I didn't accept. We didn't have to pay that money. Then it was some other circumstances which it was becoming dangerous if I was going to stay in China, because the person he was getting position, and I had a lot of information. So the best way was for them to release me, to send me back to Sweden. And when I came to Sweden, unfortunately the Swedish government, they had started very good relation with China. So they had asked Chinese government what we have to do with him, and Chinese said it's up to you. But they kept me 5 years in Swedish prison. And while I was coming out, once in 2 weeks to meet my family, I was being followed by Swedish police. They were listening my phone calls, everything on Chinese account, which I took the case to the court, and it was, I won the case against the police. Of course, they blamed prison administration. It was not the work of prison administration, it was the work of police and
It's not surprising, the Swedish government...
It is, we have to accept the fact, because Swedish government now is having very good relation with China, and especially Wang Qishan, he is the main person, I mean, in contact with Chinese, with Swedish government. So my case was very sensitive. So that was, I can say, my unfortunate chance.
Thank you. Okay. Thank you. I think we'll let you have questions?
Yeah. Did you have any chance to get this out in the media in Sweden?
You know, I tried to contact some media. I tried to write a book. For example, there was a journalist who came and met me. So she started coming every week and write about me. Later on, after 2 months, I heard that she stopped. She told me that I could see in her face she had some fear. She said, I'm going to stop because my child is sick. I was having some contacts in the Swedish parliament and especially in Vänster Party. So they wanted to take up my case in the parliament. Then they get phone call from Lella Fredra that they have to stop this case because it will hurt the relation with China. Then I had written a book. I sent it to many places in Sweden. One after each other it was rejected. In the end I knew that they will not print this book in Sweden, so I printed it in England.
Have you given up the opportunity to find some reporter or journalist with integrity?
Believe me, I did everything possible. I did everything possible, but nobody was going to write about
What
the
about
case.
the Granskning?
I contacted them.
You did?
My family contacted them, and I was having from Uppdragsgranskning Nils, Mr. Nils. So he wrote, the first magazine which wrote about my case, it was Focus. And when they came to write, she told me exactly, I cannot write anything against the Swedish government, otherwise they will not allow us in some interviews. She told me directly in that way.
Wow.
So,
I read your story in Epoch Times though.
Epoch Times, they wrote it, yeah. But Swedish news, for example, we see, I mean, there are coming small cases, they are making very big rubrics in the Swedish news. But it was very strange. My case, it was totally blackout, yes.
This is very strange. You have a fantastic story. Don't give up. I mean, that's what
therefore I'm sitting here today.
Take it and you will get it out. And I think it will be very, very important.
You know, I've been threatened by Chinese government. I've been threatened. I'm not angry at Chinese government.
No.
Because, you know, they say what they are. What I'm angry mostly is the Swedish government. Because I was never expecting that Swedish government will behave in this way.
Yeah.
I mean, they will treat their own citizen in this manner. I mean, just if we look to the recent problem, the Swedish ambassador.
Yeah.
For example, and you know, I was reading in the news, she has been fooled by a businessman.
Yeah.
For God's sake, we know the protocol of international protocol and these things. This is, you know, they can fool ordinary people, but we know exactly what's happening.
Well, all right. I mean, whatever is the actuality. I mean, don't give up until you have your story out nationally in Sweden.
Yeah,
it would be very important for both Sweden and the whole Europe.
You know,
Yes,
I think I was the first European who could come out of that place and say everything what he has gone through.
That's right.
you have a very important job, George.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah, I think we have still a little time. I would like Liu Min tell us shortly, because I think you have come out of the forced working labor 2013. As the film says, the China government closed up. So is that really true? The labor camps are closed.
中国的劳教所，对法轮功学员残酷迫害被国际曝光以后，在国际上强大的压力下，中国政府不得不解除这种残酷的非法的劳教制度。但是呢，对法轮功学员的迫害并没有结束，正像影片上所说的，迫害更加隐蔽，有的就是继续被关入洗脑班，有的被就是被判刑的人数增加了。判刑的也更重了，那么还有就是，就是在家里长期被监视居住的，我就是这样的。
She said the name of the labor camp was closed, but the actual thing is still happening. But it's just like showing in the film. It's more secret. It's more sophisticated, and then more like. People were sending to the brainwashing center and prison instead of the this sort of forcing camp. And she was in the case. 您是说好像是您本身就不是自己回家的，是被610给接走？
就是从劳教所回家当天，接我回家的不是我的亲人和家属，是我居住地的派出所的警察，居委会的，还有610的人员帮我接到居委会的办公场所，并不是说他们需要签一个协议，然后就是他们要对我进行非法监视，如果不是这样的话，他们就不让我回家。
So when she was released from working camp, when the working camp was so-called closed, she was not actually working from there by herself or picked up by her family. She was picked up by the so-called 610 office. That's a very special office to
我想告诉大家的是，其实现在在中国大陆的这种对法轮功学员的非法迫害还在继续，而且也是很严重的。所以呢，就是我们只是按照真善忍的原则做一个好人，我们没有破坏家庭和社会，但是呢，这种迫害，这种非法迫害还在继续进行。只是希望大家关注一下，尽量尽快的早点结束这种迫害。
Yeah, I mean, it just expressed that the persecution of Falun Gong is still very severe. She left China in 2017, just 1.5 years ago. And she said she asked more help. People should follow these things up and help people being persecuted under persecution in China.
从2013年到我来到瑞典之前，就是居住地的610警察和居委会的人就干扰骚扰我的生活，就达20多次，通过电话甚至进行拍照，而且说如果是不听他们的安排，他们可能随时就还要把我关起来。
Okay, so this working camp, after its so-called end up, they went to her home at least 20 times after she left there. That was 2013. So until they left China in March 2017, so they came many times. And sometimes they just show up and they come in without any warning. They just take the camera and take photos and then check the apartments. Okay, continue. So you want to say something more? And then maybe we'll turn it up. Yeah.
So what can we do about China?
Yeah, what's
Should
the
the
whole
first
discussion
step
behind
could that be to not buy any Chinese products in Sweden anymore? I don't know. Maybe there are other ideas, but of course you get upset about these stories. Thank you very much for sharing your stories. I think they should go out all over in European countries to everybody.
Yeah, I think so too.
Over and over again until they understand the message in China. You cannot fiddle around with this anymore. It should be stopped.
Yes.
You agree?
Yes.
Good.
Yes. I think it's time Sweden should wake up now. And I think I heard about this today also about you. And Falun Gong is still, I think, we should have know more people know it. And I think it's like Chinese government want to people freedom. And Chinese people, all we Chinese people, we know how we are afraid. And even Chinese out of China, still they're afraid. And
Also the
embassy.
Swedish government is also afraid.
And now it's our government is afraid. Swedish people afraid. The world, many people, because of the business, they're afraid.
Absolutely.
So if we know how evil they are, I think actually the people is strong. Just blame. Good.
It should be
I
spread
think
all over.
Yeah.
Another first step could be that everybody put a little note in their Facebook. 100 people here, maybe 150 people, go down to 10,000 people, and those 10,000 people go together up to 100,000
a
people.
huge number. Yeah.
I mean, the more the matter is spread around, the better impact it would have.
Yeah,
I mean,
thank you.
I am
think-
upset that it's not getting spread around
I think
enough.
time is up now, and
When is the next possible
wonderful cinema. On Tuesday, 7 o'clock here, we have another show of the same film. Tell your friends and tell your contacts and tell your politicians and tell them to come and to witness the courage of these people. If they can do, we can